Just over a month after a Norfolk Southern train ran off the tracks in East Palestine, Ohio, more are derailing. The National Transportation Safety Board is now investigating at least 5 serious incidents since December, including that recent toxic train disaster. For the first time since the East Palestine derailment, the Norfolk Southern CEO was on Capitol Hill facing questions about the disaster and the impact on the community. Roxana Sayberry has the latest.
This was the scene in Calhoun County, Alabama, after another Norfolk Southern train derailed.
There is no hazardous material leak. There is no risk at all to the public.
The train was the 4th operated by Norfolk Southern to derail in the last 5 weeks.
Your company will pay for the harm that it has caused.
It happened just hours before senators from both parties grilled CEO Alan Shaw.
I want to begin today by expressing how deeply sorry I am
over the February 3rd toxic train derailment in East Palestine, Ohio.
People are aware that these chemicals cause lymphoma and leukemia and cancers. Residents of East Palestine are complaining about all sorts of health issues.
What's right is to cover their health care needs. Will you do that?
Everything is on the table, sir.
The railroad should be held responsible.
We first met Jamie Koza over a month ago when she and her daughter evacuated from East Palestine after the derailment.
My major concern right now is just for everyone's health.
After attending today's hearing in Washington, D.C., she's still concerned.
I wanted concrete answers and not just this vague, I'm going to make it right.
Answers to which questions?
Why are my community members and my family getting sick? We want long-term medical care for our citizens, not just within the community, but the wider community too. And we want to make sure that, Norfolk pays 100% of this.
The National Transportation Safety Board says it is launching a special investigation into Norfolk Southern's railway organization and the safety culture. And this comes after a Norfolk Southern conductor was killed after being hit by a dump truck and train derailments in East Palestine, Springfield, and Sandusky, Ohio. The last derailment happened back in October. Well, the board said in part that it is concerned that several organizational factors may be involved in the accidents, including safety culture. The NTSB released their initial report on the East Palestine derailment on February 23rd. And Marisa Sayans shares what the report found about the derailment and shares other concerns, incidents involving Norfolk Southern in the past 17 years.
A preliminary NTSB report centers around the overheating of a wheel bearing on train car 23. According to the report, the crew was alerted twice that the temperature of the bearing was rising, once at 48 degrees, another at 113. It wasn't until the bearing reached 263 degrees that the crews initiated the brakes. Norfolk Southern's threshold for, quote, critical temperatures is greater than 200 degrees.
We have no evidence that the crew did anything wrong. And during this deceleration, the wheel bearing failed.
38 of the 149 train cars derailed, 11 of them carrying the hazardous materials.
Now, roller bearings fail, but it's absolutely critical for problems to be identified and addressed early so these aren't run until failure.
The toxic spill isn't the first of its kind for the railroad. Our investigation found 6 Norfolk Southern accidents investigated by the NTSB since 2006. 3 of them isolated crew fatalities. A trainmaster struck and killed by a Norfolk Southern train in 2016. 2 others killed in 2019 and 2015 after being pinned between train cars. In January 2006, 2 Norfolk Southern trains collided in Alabama, leaving 3 crew members injured, causing over $5 million in damage. In 2012, 17 train cars derailed in Columbus, 3 of them carrying a toxic denatured ethanol that fueled a fire, forcing 100 residents to evacuate. It was a similar scene in New Brighton, Pennsylvania, when another Norfolk Southern train derailed, sending 20 cars also carrying denatured ethanol into flames that burned for nearly 2 days. According to a Federal Railroad Administration safety analysis report, Norfolk Southern has had over 200 train accidents every year since 2019. Online reports show that the railroad generated over $12 billion in 2022 and $11 billion in 2021.
The timeline for the full East Palestine investigation could be as long as 18 months. The NTSB says it is in the fact-finding stage of the investigation, which will include testing of the wheel bearing that it says will be, and these are their words, incredibly key to finding answers. More than a month after that East Palestine train derailment, though, Norfolk Southern announced a 6-point plan to immediately enhance the safety of its operations. The company said it will immediately begin these initiatives, and they include enhancing the hot bearing detector network by adding more devices, testing new technology, and reviewing the current hot bearing detection standards. They'll also add more acoustic bearing detectors.
When they deteriorate far enough, when they start heating up and then they seize, so on. But with acoustic bearing detectors, you can detect the failing bearing earlier in its life and do it at yards so that you don't have to set out the car and have a truck come. You can put it on the repair track in the yard and so on. And that's a technology that makes sense.
Right now, Norfolk Southern only has 5 acoustic bearing detectors along its railroad network. They plan to have 13 more. The company says they're going to develop a more advanced digital safety inspection technology, and it's joining the Federal Railroad Administration's confidential close call reporting system. It will hopefully encourage railroaders to speak up if they find something that is unsafe.